In your view, should the committee have the powers to approve, or should the committee set the regulations? What's your view?
I think from where I sit, we should actually have set the regulations, because the regulations are the ones that are going to free all of us. But if you approve and then somebody else is challenging that approval, we are going to be in that space, fighting over that space. But I think you're right. I think the best thing is, let's come up with the regulations, and all of us study the regulations. We will actually be showing, are these regulations working for all of us? Are they able to encourage us in terms of our innovativeness, or are they limiting us? Now, when we feel that the regulations are not guiding enough, we can actually change the regulations. But approvals are final. Approvals are final. So essentially, we could actually move from regulations to approvals. That's the best way. So I do agree with you that actually let's work on the regulations. And we should spend more energy in making sure that the regulations are foolproof. So they guide. They don't leave any space. They don't leave any lacuna, as it were.
Thank you so much, Waziri. I think we have gotten your submissions on the raising revenue bill process. Maybe we could go to the next bill.
The next bill, is a proposal by the National Treasury to the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bills number 23 of 2023. And this is a bill that we have several suggestions in terms of the revisions we would like to make. And I want my colleague to go over it. Is that okay? You are ready for that? He's ready for this, and we had provided some documentation, and we have marked where we would like to make changes. Madam Chair, with your permission, I can allow my colleague to go over it, and then we can maybe come to some conclusion after he has covered that space.
Correct. You can proceed.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, thank you so much. We have made some proposals, as indicated in Section 1, which are basically not of a lot of substance, but just to bring clarity. We have inserted the words commencement immediately after the words short title in the marginal note. Insert the words and shall be deemed to have come into effect on the date it's ascended to. We have given a rationale in page 2, which is just to provide the time and to be very specific when the act comes into force. Section 2, we have proposed to delete the word finance and replace it with matters relating to finance. The rationale is the concept finance carries along other related matters, and hence the need to be brought in a way that is captured in the County Government Additional Bill 2023. We have further requested to include Section 4.1c, insert words additional allocation in form of immediately before the words loans and grants. The rationale is additional allocations are in form of loans and grants and will be moved as either loans and revenue or grants revenue where applicable. There is a new section 4.3, which we are proposing that we insert it, Section 4.3 immediately after Section 4.2, to read, the National Treasury shall facilitate any agreements between county governments and development partners and shall table the agreements in the National Assembly and the Senate before inclusion of the budget policy statement. This was informed by the amendments that were made further to County Government Additional Allocation 2012 that amended Section 191A to E that brought in the issue of the intergovernmental agreement. So we are just amplifying that section through the rationale that we have given. It's also explained by Regulation 129 and 125. Section 5.1 to 5.5 is reorganized to bring Section 5.1, which says conditional allocation to each county government from national government share of revenue for the financial year 2024 shall be set out in first schedule. We have listed the additional allocations A, B, C to D, and number 2, Section 2, pursuant to Article 206 of the Constitution, court fines emanating from contravention of county government legislation are excluded from the consolidated fund and payable to the respective county revenue fund. And number 3, additional and conditional allocations to the beneficial county governments from national government share of revenue emanating. This is all related to court fees, and is given in column B in the second schedule. 4, we are saying upon the passage of this act, the National Treasury shall cassette the frameworks and transfer of court fines imposed on county legislation from the national government. This is just a standard requirement as we do the disbursement schedule. And conditional allocation to beneficial county governments from national government share of revenue. This is from the mineral royalties, which is set out in Schedule 2. The rationale is given there that ensure the clause and subsection and paragraphs flow in tandem with the order in which the schedules are named and appear in the bill. Section 5.6 is just inserting the words either immediately before the words World Bank, appearing in subsection 5.6 all the way to 5.6m, then putting the words World Bank. This is just a wording reorganization, doesn't change the substance. Rationale is conditional allocation discussed in the latest section in clause 5 are in form of loans from International Development Association, IDA. We have a new section on 5.6n. The National Treasury proposes inclusion of Germany Development Bank, GFW credit from the Climate Regional Grant Level 2 under the Financing Local Climate FLOCA program allocated. It goes to 16 beneficiary counties as shown in the attached schedule. The information is given in the framework. We have this additional allocation under KFW. We have given them in the name of the project, the implementing ministry. The source of the funding is given there. I think the table is self-explanatory. It says in this regard, in order to ensure that the additional allocation to county government in the CGAP 23 are aligned to the budget allocation to the National Treasury budget estimates for F223, we propose a new insertion named 5.6n to be inserted in the bill to read as follows. Conditional allocation amounting to 1,200 million financed by proceeds from loans from German KFW, include counties, county resilient grant set out in column B of the Dutch schedule shall be allocated among the county governments on the basis of criteria to be determined as follows, listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rationale is to provide for this 1.2 billion to be financed from proceeds from KFW. Section 5.9, Chair, we are proposing to delete section 2 and replace with subsection 5, 6, and 7. Rationale given is a conditional allocation financed from proceeds from loans and grants under 5, 6, as well as those from certain devolved functions under 5, 7 shall not be disbursed by the implementing MDS, but rather by the National Treasury using the county additional cash disbursement schedule. Section 5.10 is delete the phrase 5.1 and 5.3, 5.1 and 3, and appearing and replace with the subsection 5.2.5 all the way to section 511. Rationale is the idea is to make reference to all additional allocation, both from national county government share of revenue, whether conditional or unconditional, and also from the development partners, because all have to be budget estimates. 511B, insert the words respective, rationale, just to lay emphasis. Section 8B, delete the words 412 and replace with subsequent 52545. Rationale, county treasury is required to report on all but not some of the additional allocation, both from the national government share of revenue, whether conditional or unconditional. There's a new section, which is 9 and 10. Chair, as you recall, further to the amendment of PFM 2012 to bring in section 191 to 191E of public finance management. We were given, the last 2 financial years were exempted. We have noticed that the agreements, the intergovernmental agreements, are not ready, and we will be seeking an extension to include 2023-24 to allow for preparation of these intergovernmental agreements. Insert section 10 on PFM 2012. The conditional grants for financial year 2024 shall be dispersed in accordance with the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act. Chair, this one means that if the exemption is granted, then we should just disperse as previously dispersed under the PFM Act without the intergovernmental agreements. The National Treasury, the rationale is that the National Treasury, in conjunction with the budget of intergovernmental budget, IBEC held a meeting on 12 July 2023 and noted that certain operational challenges likely to be faced as a result of the consequential amendments of 2012, as I have said before, due to the County Government's Additional Allocation Act 2022 that brought some these amendments. Section 191A, 191A4 versus 191B. Section 191A requires that whereas a county government intends to enter an agreement with the National Treasury for transfer of a respective conditional allocation, the County Executives Committee shall submit the agreement to the respective county assembly for approval. Section 191B, on the other hand, requires that the County Executive Committee members shall facilitate public participation on any agreement made pursuant to Section 191. Section 191.4 requires the County Assembly to approve or reject the agreement, but does not address whether the County Assembly can amend the bill. As such, there would be difficulty in achieving meaningful and quantitative public participation on agreements that have already been approved by the County Assembly. Section 191A5 of PFM 2012 stipulates that a County Assembly fails to consider an agreement under subsection 3 within 14 days, the agreement shall be deemed to be approved. This does not therefore address the possibility of reintroduction of the intergovernmental agreements and procedure on the timelines adhered to. Section 191A7 of the PFM requires the county government to submit the intergovernmental agreements to the controller budget within 7 days of approval. Section 191D1 of the Act requires the National Treasury to submit to the Senate and controller budget intergovernmental agreements entered into with any other documents relating to the agreement. Therefore, the consequential amendments to 2012 due to County Government Additional Allocation Act 2022 are silent, but are silent about likely disparities between agreements submitted by the county government and submitted by the National Treasury. Now, to remedy this. From the above, Chair, the National Treasury therefore proposes the inclusion of a transitional clause in the County Government Additional Allocation Bill 2023 which is before you, to exempt the current financial year 2023-24 from the requirements of the intergovernmental agreements under Section 191 of PFM 2012. The next paragraph indicates that we have the National Treasury has established a task force, a multi-agency task force, to start preparing these intergovernmental agreements. Finally, inclusion of the transitional clause in County Government Additional Allocation Bill 2023 to exempt 2024 financial year from the requirements of the intergovernmental agreements will allow the interagency task force, which I've mentioned above, to work on the templates for intergovernmental agreements. And this should be ready, Chair, by the next financial year, if that is simpler. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this, the main critical issues here is, first of all, the FROCA that we explained. And this is going to be significant because during the climate summit, we want also to showcase the FROCA as how we can actually deal with climate change at the local level, at the devolved level. And for us, it's very, very important, and that's why we want to bring that. The second thing is that most of the amendments that we have made is actually to streamline the regulations. But finally, the last request is actually because we feel that the intergovernments are not yet ready with the agreements that are required, and even the processes that they may take. That's why we are just exempting them for this year, for 2023-2024, so that they can be ready, and the task force will be ready with the agreements and also the requirements.
Thank you, Sana Waziri. It's quite a very good detailed submission, which we appreciate. I would first want to allow Senator to put himself on record.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. CS, my name is Richard Onyonka, and I'm a member of this committee. As my teacher, I want to apologize for coming to class late.
Is the apology accepted?
Apology accepted. I will deduct a few marks.
Yes, we should. Thank you. Anyway.
Thank you. I think the father was my teacher, so now I became the teacher to the son. So it's a good relationship. Thank you very much.
Very true. Waziri, I would first want to put my comments, and I have 3 comments. One, starting from the point of the court fines that you've mentioned in terms of ensuring that they will be remitted to the counties. But I would want to understand, from which financial year are you looking at? To what is the start? That is one. Secondly, is on the issue of the minerals. On the issue of the minerals, you've clearly stated on Part C, where you've talked about the allocation, on column C rather, and Article 83(5) does stipulate on the allocations, whereby the national government receiving 70%, the county government 20%, and the communities 10%. So where is the 10%? Where do you leave the 10% for the communities? In your schedule, we are not seeing any comment of the 10% for the communities. And thirdly is on the 425 for the 33 libraries. Part of the delay that we had a bit in the morning is because IGRTC had requested to appear before this committee, and they were really concerned on the 425 of the country transfer services for the library, putting in mind we have staff, we have expenses that are in these 33 libraries. So what is the status of the 425 million for the libraries as far as this county additional allocation is concerned? I'll allow members to one more so that they can respond to that, and then we go to the other senators. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My concern is with regard to the royalties, payment of those royalties to the counties. I'll give you an example. Base Titanium came to Kenya. They did their mining. They are now closing down. They have already concluded the operation. But the funds that were saved, or the levies that were collected for the communities, have never been disbursed. I don't know why the delay has been so much that they are no longer, the benefits are no longer likely to reach the people. Thank you.
Prof,
Thank you, sir.
would you like to take the 3 questions and then you respond, or I give you time first? I have one additional concern.
We are under the direction of the chair. Maybe,
If it's one, maybe you can proceed.
Yes, just one comment and a question. The question is, when the library services were transferred, it's only 33 counties that received staff. So I would like you to clarify the library services. I would like you to clarify, Professor, what you are planning for the other 33 counties. For the other 14, the 14 that did not receive, because we want the children and the general public there also to enjoy library services. My last one is a comment. The issue raised by my colleague here about mining. Are you conscious that mining of gold is ongoing 24/7 in Kakamega and parts of Vihiga? And if you are on top of things, are we looking forward to us getting our 10%?